On May 10, 2021, 30-year-old Jessica Edwards was reported missing by her family.
To the index now in the desperate search for a missing mother. A vigil held today in South Windsor, Connecticut for 30-year-old Jessica Edwards. Police say she was last seen on Monday getting into a car with her friend. Edwards had just celebrated her first Mother's Day with her 7-month-old son. Police are calling her disappearance suspicious.
She was a respiratory therapy student at Manchester Community College and a new mother to a 7-month-old son. She lived in South Windsor, Connecticut, with her husband, 22-year-old Taj Hutchinson. According to Taj, Jessica had left their home voluntarily early that morning after an argument. However, she left behind her phone, car, personal items, and child, and had no known plans or arrangements. Jessica's family immediately suspected foul play. She had never gone silent without informing anyone. Police launched an investigation and quickly identified inconsistencies in Taj's account. Surveillance footage from the apartment complex showed no sign of Jessica leaving. Her phone had no activity after May 10th. No rideshare or travel records indicated she went anywhere. Her school and professors confirmed she missed class without notice. 11 days later, on May 21st, police located Jessica's decomposing body in a wooded area in East Hartford. Taj was arrested hours later. During interrogation, he confessed to killing her during a physical altercation. He claimed she had hit him with a laptop and brandished a kitchen knife, and that he restrained her by kneeling on her neck and back until she stopped moving. He kept her body in the home for one day before placing it in his SUV and disposing of it in the woods.
Developing news at 11, family and friends remembering the life of Jessica Edwards. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kevin Hogan. Police found the body of the 30-year-old mother in an East Hartford park, and tonight, her husband, Taj Hutchinson, is locked up on a manslaughter charge. The 22-year-old is being held now on $1 million bond. Loved ones held a vigil to honor Edwards. Channel 3 Eyewitness News reporter Shante Passmore covered the emotional event. She's live right now in South Windsor with more. Shante?
A mother, a sister, a friend. That's how many people remember Jessica Edwards. And people passed out these red ribbons because we're learning this was her favorite color. And tonight, many are wishing this wasn't the outcome.
Stay with us as we unravel the shocking story and uncover the heartbreaking details of what led to this senseless loss. Before we begin, let us know in the comments, where are you watching from? And what are your thoughts as the story unfolds? Welcome to True Crime Tales, where we reveal the crimes that shock communities and the secrets hidden behind closed doors. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Now let's begin. Jessica Edwards was a 30-year-old woman living in South Windsor, Connecticut. She was a student enrolled in a respiratory therapy program at Manchester Community College. She was nearing the end of her studies and looking forward to graduation. Her academic records and attendance history showed a pattern of consistency, dedication, and seriousness toward her future in the healthcare field. At the time of her death, Jessica was also a new mother. She and her husband, Taj Hutchinson, had welcomed their first child, a son, just 7 months earlier. According to family members, Jessica was adjusting well to motherhood, balancing her responsibilities at school and at home. Those close to her describe her as responsible, focused, and deeply committed to both her education and her family. Jessica had no prior criminal background, and there were no official or unofficial reports suggesting behavioral issues. She maintained frequent contact with her family, including her mother and siblings. Her mother later stated that Jessica never went more than a few hours without responding to text messages or phone calls. Any interruption in communication was considered highly unusual. Jessica lived with her husband and son in a shared apartment located in a residential area of South Windsor. The apartment complex was described as quiet and family-friendly. There had been no previous police visits or complaints involving the couple. Taj Hutchinson was 22 years old at the time of the incident. He was married to Jessica and was a biological father of their infant son. Taj was known by others as quiet, reserved, and soft-spoken. He did not have a criminal history and had no documented incidents of domestic violence. Publicly, their relationship showed no outward signs of abuse. Friends, neighbors, and Jessica's classmates had not witnessed any aggressive or concerning behavior from Taj. However, after Jessica's death, her family came forward to disclose that arguments had become more frequent between the couple in the weeks leading up to the incident. These conflicts reportedly revolved around parenting disagreements, household responsibilities, and signs of growing emotional tension. Despite these private issues, there have been no restraining orders, police reports, or other red flags that typically precede documented cases of domestic abuse. The relationship was perceived as stable from the outside, and Jessica had not shared any major concerns publicly or with law enforcement. The critical timeline began on May 9, 2021, Mother's Day. This was Jessica's first Mother's Day as a parent. According to statements given to investigators, Taj presented Jessica with a gift, a pair of guinea pigs. The gift reportedly triggered an argument. While no physical altercation was reported on that day, multiple sources later revealed that Jessica was disappointed by the gift and that the disagreement continued throughout the evening. Jessica's mother confirmed that she saw her daughter during a family Mother's Day celebration earlier that day. Jessica appeared normal and showed no signs of distress. She returned to her apartment with Taj and the baby later that evening. On May 10th, Jessica failed to respond to any messages or phone calls. Her mother and sister attempted to reach her multiple times. She did not show up for her classes that day, nor did she inform her instructors of her absence, behavior that her college contacts later described as extremely uncharacteristic. Taj told investigators that Jessica had left the apartment voluntarily around 7 a.m. following an argument. He stated that she had taken her phone and keys but left her vehicle behind. He said he believed she had arranged for someone to pick her up, but he did not know who. This account raised immediate concerns. Jessica's car remained parked outside the apartment. Her phone was powered off and remained inactive from the morning of May 10th onward. There were no messages or calls sent after the alleged departure. There was no activity on her social media accounts, email, or student portal. Jessica's purse, identification, and essential personal items were also still in the apartment. By May 11th, Jessica's family reported her missing to local authorities. A missing person investigation was officially launched. Taj participated in search efforts, made public appeals, and distributed flyers. He gave several interviews indicating concern for Jessica's safety. However, police found no surveillance footage or neighbor reports confirming Jessica's departure. No rideshare records, text messages, or phone logs supported Taj's version of events. The absence of electronic communication, financial transactions, or physical movement outside the apartment complex led investigators to suspect that Jessica had never left the premises. Her instructors at Manchester Community College also contacted authorities, expressing concern over her unexplained absence. Jessica had been present in all of her classes the week before and had turned in all assignments on time. The sudden disappearance, combined with no prior warning, deepened suspicions. As the investigation progressed, detectives began to focus more closely on inconsistencies in Taj's statements. He claimed he had gone out later in the day with the baby and returned home alone. He also said he assumed Jessica would return on her own. Yet, he did not report her missing until Jessica's family demanded answers and involved police directly. Authorities later obtained GPS data from his cell phone and vehicle, reviewed surveillance footage from local businesses, and analyzed phone tower activity to reconstruct his movements. South Windsor police began an official investigation shortly after the missing person report was filed. Officers interviewed Hutchinson and searched the surrounding areas. In public, Taj appeared cooperative. He participated in search efforts, gave interviews, and handed out flyers. He spoke with police, joined Jessica's family in raising awareness, and appeared concerned about her disappearance. Despite his public actions, early evidence revealed inconsistencies in his statements. Surveillance footage from the apartment complex did not show Jessica leaving the premises on May 10th. There was no Uber, Lyft, taxi, or ride-hailing service activity connected to her name or phone number. Her cell phone activity stopped early that morning, and she made no contact with any known friends, co-workers, or relatives. Investigators found no signs that she had packed clothes or taken personal items. These contradictions made investigators question the initial voluntary departure theory. As days passed with no sightings, no digital trail, and no third-party witness accounts, law enforcement began to suspect foul play and narrowed their focus to the one person who last saw her alive, her husband. As police worked to verify Taj Hutchinson's account, more discrepancies emerged. His timeline, claiming that Jessica left peacefully after an argument, began to fall apart under scrutiny. Jessica's family grew increasingly suspicious and began to speak out publicly, particularly on social media. They pointed out that Jessica had not taken any of her belongings, including her car or phone. They also emphasized that she would never have left her baby behind willingly. Digital forensics revealed no activity on her phone, email, or social media accounts after May 10th. There were no GPS pings, no outgoing messages, and no location updates. This silence further contradicted Hutchinson's story. Typically, missing persons who leave voluntarily maintain at least some form of communication. In this case, there was nothing. It was also discovered that Taj delayed contacting police. Jessica's family were the ones who initiated the missing person report, not him. According to reports, he waited hours before expressing concern and made no immediate effort to alert authorities when Jessica left. Despite this, he continued to act as though nothing had happened. He remained in the apartment with the baby, attended searches, and did not make any public admissions of conflict. However, behind the scenes, authorities were beginning to see a different picture. The apartment, potentially a crime scene, was not secure for days. It was later determined that Taj had kept Jessica's body inside the home for over 24 hours before disposing of it. This behavior raised further red flags. The calculated nature of his responses, lack of urgency, and inconsistency in his timeline deepened suspicion. Police surveillance and analysis of digital records began to tighten the investigative net. On May 21st, 2021, 11 days after she was reported missing, authorities located the body of Jessica Edwards in a wooded area in East Hartford, Connecticut, about 10 miles from her home. The area was secluded, covered in brush, and rarely trafficked by the public. It had been searched previously, but the dense terrain delayed discovery. The body was in a decomposing state, consistent with being left in the elements for several days. The Connecticut Office of the Chief Medical Examiner conducted an autopsy. The cause of death was ruled as asphyxia, confirming suspicions of violent death rather than a natural or accidental cause. Jessica's clothing matched the description of what she was wearing on the day of her disappearance. The scene also showed attempted concealment. Her body had been placed in a location that suggested intentional hiding. It was partially covered by natural debris and located a significant distance from any nearby road or trail. The position of the body and surrounding evidence indicated that someone had attempted to hide it rather than leaving it randomly. Once the body was confirmed to be Jessica's, authorities moved quickly. Less than 12 hours later, Taj Hutchinson was arrested and formally charged in connection with her death. His cooperation with the case had abruptly ended. His role changed from concerned husband to prime suspect. During interrogation, Taj confessed to killing Jessica during an argument on May 10th. According to his statement, the confrontation started over a Mother's Day gift and escalated into physical violence. He claimed Jessica struck him with a laptop and came at him with a kitchen knife. In response, he said he tackled her and pinned her down by kneeling on her back and neck until she stopped breathing. He admitted to leaving her body in the apartment for over a day before moving it using his SUV and dumping it in East Hartford. After disposing of her remains, he returned to their home and continued daily life with their child while authorities and families searched for her. Hutchinson was formally charged with first-degree manslaughter, tampering with physical evidence, and risk of injury to a minor. He waived his Miranda rights and gave a full confession to investigators. In his statement, he described the sequence of events that began on May 10, 2021, the day after Mother's Day. The argument between him and Jessica reportedly stemmed from a disagreement about a Mother's Day gift. He had gifted her guinea pigs, which led to tension and verbal conflict. According to Hutchinson's account, the verbal argument escalated into a physical confrontation. He claimed Jessica struck him with a laptop and allegedly picked up a kitchen knife. He responded by attempting to restrain her, during which he forced her face down onto the floor and applied pressure by kneeling on her neck and back. He continued to hold her in that position until she became unresponsive and died. The cause of death was later confirmed by the medical examiner as asphyxia due to compression of the torso and neck. After the killing, Hutchinson did not contact emergency services or attempt resuscitation. Instead, he left Jessica's body in the apartment for approximately 24 hours. During this time, he cared for their infant son and resumed normal routines. The following day, he transported her body in the rear cargo area of his SUV and drove to a wooded location in East Hartford, where he concealed her remains under foliage. After disposing of the body, Hutchinson returned home and began fabricating a false narrative. He told friends, family, and police that Jessica had voluntarily left the house on the morning of May 10th following an argument. He claimed she walked out without her vehicle or phone and had not been seen since. This version of events was inconsistent with available evidence and failed to explain why her personal belongings, including her phone and car keys, were left behind. Over the next several days, Hutchinson joined the search efforts. He distributed flyers bearing Jessica's photo, posted appeals on social media, and gave police interviews. His behavior was viewed by some as cooperative and concerned. In reality, this activity served as a cover, allowing him to deflect suspicion and appear helpful while concealing the homicide and the body's location. Eventually, inconsistencies in his story, along with forensic and digital evidence, led police to focus on him as a suspect. GPS data, cell phone tower analysis, and surveillance footage contradicted his claims. This led to the issuance of a warrant and the subsequent discovery of Jessica's remains. Once confronted with the evidence, Hutchinson confessed and was taken into custody without incident. After his arrest, Taj Hutchinson remained in custody while awaiting trial. He initially faced the possibility of more severe charges, including murder. However, in November 2024, Hutchinson entered into a plea agreement with prosecutors. Under the agreement, Hutchinson pled guilty to 3 felony charges: first-degree manslaughter, 20 years imprisonment, risk of injury to a child, 3 years imprisonment, tampering with physical evidence, 4 years imprisonment. These sentences were ordered to run consecutively, totaling 27 years of incarceration. The sentence included a mandatory minimum term, meaning Hutchinson must serve the full sentence with limited opportunities for early release. Additionally, the court imposed a 75-year protective order. This legally prohibits Hutchinson from contacting members of Jessica's family or his own biological son, who was an infant at the time of the crime. The order was designed to prevent future emotional harm and protect the child from potential psychological contact with the perpetrator of his mother's death. During the sentencing hearing, statements were read from members of Jessica's family. The court acknowledged their loss in the circumstances of the crime, but the plea deal was upheld. The plea agreement avoided a prolonged trial and secured a conviction without requiring testimony from family or expert witnesses. The public reaction to the sentence was mixed. Some viewed the 27-year term as a practical compromise that ensured accountability. Others argued the sentence was too lenient given the deliberate nature of the crime, the attempts at concealment, and the psychological manipulation that followed. Legal experts noted that manslaughter carries a lower burden of proof than murder, and plea deals are common in cases with circumstantial evidence and delayed discovery of remains. Following the sentencing, the community of South Windsor and the broader Connecticut public responded with a range of actions and statements. Vigils and memorials. Public vigils were held in Jessica's memory at several locations, including Manchester Community College and local parks. Community members lit candles, displayed photos, and laid flowers.
Developing news at 11, family and friends remembering the life of Jessica Edwards. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kevin Hogan. Police found the body of the 30-year-old mother in an East Hartford park, and tonight her husband, Teo Hutchinson, is locked up on a manslaughter charge. The 22-year-old is being held now on $1 million bond. Loved ones held a vigil to honor Edwards. Channel 3 Eyewitness News reporter Shante Passmore covered the emotional event. She's live right now in South Windsor with more. Shante?
A mother, a sister, a friend. That's how many people remember Jessica Edwards. And people passed out these red ribbons because we're learning this was her favorite color. And tonight, many are wishing this wasn't the outcome.
May the circle be unbroken, By and by, Lord.
A family reeling from the loss of a young woman ready to soar. Jessica Edwards, a mom to a 7-month-old, set her sights on becoming a respiratory therapist following a career change. Instead, her family mourned her death.
I don't know if you know what it feels like to feel empty, but I feel so empty. I feel like I died with Jessica.
Family tell Eyewitness News they last solved a 30-year-old on Mother's Day. South Windsor police say her family reported her missing to them. Her husband, Taj Hutchinson, reported it to East Hartford police. Investigators found the mom's body in this East Hartford park Friday, thanks to location data, days after family, friends, and volunteers searched for the woman. Last night, police arrested the 22-year-old husband in connection to his wife's death. Tonight at the vigil, people tried to make sense of this loss.
The most loyal friend you could ever have. The most funniest friend.
It's just different when it hits you and it hits your community, just to process the loss and just feel all the raw emotion and just kind of support everyone through it.
Before the balloon release, Edwards' family pledged to always keep her memory alive. As for Hutchinson, he is expected to make his first court appearance on Monday. Right now, at this hour, he is facing charges for manslaughter in the first degree, but we're told that additional charges may be filed based on autopsy results. Live in South Windsor tonight, Shantae Passmore, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.
Domestic violence awareness. Several local organizations, including women's advocacy groups and domestic violence shelters, use the case to launch awareness campaigns. These focus on the hidden signs of domestic abuse, the risk of emotional manipulation, and the importance of early intervention. Family advocacy. Jessica's family has remained active in speaking about the case. They participated in interviews, school events, and workshops. Their focus has been on honoring Jessica's life and raising awareness about the dangers of invisible domestic abuse. Academic and institutional response. Manchester Community College, where Jessica was pursuing her degree in respiratory therapy, organized an event in her honor. Faculty and students discussed the impact of her death and held sessions on recognizing signs of abuse in student populations. Public discourse. On social media and in news forums, the case became a subject of wider discussion. Many viewers expressed shock at how a seemingly mild disagreement could lead to homicide. Others noted the strategic nature of Hutchinson's post-crime behavior, caring for the baby, assisting with the search, and maintaining a calm demeanor. The Jessica Edwards case presents multiple implications for how domestic violence is understood, reported, and prevented. Hidden nature of abuse. There were no prior police reports or public signs of violence in the marriage. This aligns with findings that many abusive relationships involve psychological control, not always physical violence. The absence of external signs can delay intervention and make detection difficult. Manipulation after murder. Hutchinson's active participation in public search efforts and false narrative creation demonstrates how abusers may manipulate the legal system and public perception after a crime has been committed. This form of deception can hinder investigations and prolong risk to others. Failure of detection. The case underscores gaps in social detection of abuse. Neither family, friends, nor co-workers reported seeing major red flags. This points to the need for greater education on identifying subtle forms of control, emotional isolation, and coercive behavior. Need for preventative measures. Domestic violence prevention strategies often focus on physical abuse. This case reveals the importance of addressing early psychological and emotional instability, even when no physical harm has yet occurred. Impact on children. The child, who was 7 months old at the time, is now without both parents. This creates a long-term psychological and legal dilemma regarding guardianship identity and the effects of trauma in early childhood. How do you recognize when a normal relationship is hiding darker behavior? Why do some abusers maintain the appearance of being calm and supportive in public? Should there be stricter laws around false reporting in domestic violence cases? Was 27 years an appropriate sentence for this crime? Why or why not? Could this murder have been prevented if earlier red flags were noticed? What signs of control or isolation would you look for in a relationship like this? How would you respond if a family member's partner raised quiet concerns, but no physical abuse was apparent? If you found this story as gripping and heartbreaking as we did, don't forget to like this video and share it with others. And if you want to hear more true crime stories that uncover the mysteries behind these tragic events, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. You won't want to miss our latest stories, updates, and discussions. Thank you for joining us on this journey to seek justice and explore the truth. Together, we can make a difference. Until next time, stay safe and stay aware.
Like, I'm scared. Like, when am I gonna have kids? I don't have a car yet. Like,
On the morning of December 12th, 2021, police in Bridgeport, Connecticut, responded to a 911 call from a local apartment. Inside, they found a 23-year-old woman unresponsive on the floor, beside her bed. There were visible signs of blood under her nostril. The caller, a 37-year-old man, told officers he had met the woman just 3 nights earlier through a dating app. He claimed they had been drinking, watching a movie, and fell asleep beside each other. He said he awoke to find her cold and unresponsive. Paramedics arrived and pronounced her dead at the scene.
Now to an I-Team exclusive. There are new questions about the police investigation into the dating app death of a young woman, Lauren Smith Fields, in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Investigative reporter Sarah Wallace delves into that mystery.
There were no immediate signs of forced entry, and the man who called 911 was not detained or questioned further. According to police, he cooperated and was not considered a suspect. The woman's family was not notified by authorities. They learned of her death the following day after visiting her apartment and finding a note on the door. When they entered the home, they discovered a scene that raised additional questions. Items they believed should have been treated as evidence had not been collected or logged. Some were photographed by the family before being reported to investigators.
About our daughter, their sister, our loved one. They thought they was gonna just throw her away like she was
garbage.
Amid this family's anguish are emotions of outrage and disgust at how the Bridgeport Police Department has investigated the mysterious death of 23-year-old Lauren Smith Fields.
It was careless. It was no concern. There was no care for the family about how we felt, our grief, our pain, none of that.
Weeks later, a medical examiner would rule the death accidental. The official explanation cited alcohol and multiple substances found in the victim's system. No arrests were made. No charges were filed. But the timeline, the evidence, and the investigative decisions would soon come under public scrutiny. As national attention turned to the case, questions emerged. Was something overlooked? Was someone protected? And why was the investigation handled the way it was? Stay with us as we unravel this shocking story and uncover the heartbreaking details of what led to this senseless loss. Before we begin, let us know in the comments, where are you watching from? And what are your thoughts as the story unfolds? Welcome to True Crime Tales, where we reveal the crimes that shock communities and the secrets hidden behind closed doors. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Now, let's begin. Lauren Smith Fields was a 23-year-old woman residing in Bridgeport, Connecticut. She was enrolled at Norwalk Community College, where she was pursuing a degree in physical therapy. Her academic and career goals included long-term aspirations in the beauty and wellness industry. Lauren graduated from Stanford High School, where she had been active in athletics. Family members and those who knew her described her as disciplined, organized, and attentive to her personal health and well-being. She maintained a fitness-conscious lifestyle, avoided risky behavior, and had no known history of drug or alcohol misuse. In addition to school, Lauren ran a small business centered on beauty and hair care products. She was considered entrepreneurial and independent. Those close to her regarded her as cautious in social settings, especially concerning dating. She was reportedly selective and measured when interacting with men, particularly through online platforms. Lauren lived alone in a second-floor apartment in Bridgeport. The apartment was modest and in a relatively quiet neighborhood. She supported herself financially through part-time work while continuing her studies. There were no prior disturbances or complaints linked to her address, and she had not previously reported any safety concerns regarding her home environment. On or before December 11, 2021, Lauren matched with 37-year-old Matthew LaFontaine on the dating application Bumble. LaFontaine was a white male, employed as a design engineer. There was no documented history of previous contact between the two prior to their match. According to LaFontaine's later account to police, he and Lauren had met in person a limited number of times prior to the evening in question. There is no indication that they had an extended relationship, and no communications between them prior to December 11th have been publicly released or verified. On the night of December 11th, LaFontaine arrived at Lauren's apartment. He brought with him a bottle of tequila, which both individuals began drinking together. LaFontaine stated that they consumed alcohol and engaged in casual conversation. At some point during the night, Lauren reportedly became physically ill. LaFontaine told investigators that she vomited and complained of not feeling well, but resumed drinking shortly thereafter. He further stated that Lauren went to the bathroom for an estimated 10 to 15 minutes, after which she returned and continued to socialize. The pair allegedly watched a movie and ate food during the night. LaFontaine claimed they eventually moved to the bedroom, where they both went to sleep. During the evening, Lauren's brother briefly visited the apartment to drop off groceries or laundry. He reported that Lauren exited the building momentarily and appeared to be speaking to someone. The timeline provided places this interaction near the window of time before Lauren became ill and shortly before she was last seen alive. This visit from her brother constitutes one of the final independent, external interactions Lauren had that evening and provides a fixed reference point in the otherwise limited public timeline of events. LaFontaine stated that Lauren fell asleep on the couch. He claimed to have carried her to the bed and then gotten into bed beside her. According to his account, she was snoring heavily around 3 a.m. When he awoke again around 6:30 a.m., LaFontaine said he found Lauren lying on her right side unresponsive, with blood present around her nostril. He called emergency services at approximately 6:39 a.m. and told dispatchers that his date was not breathing. He also mentioned that she might have consumed alcohol earlier in the evening. LaFontaine reported attempting chest compressions while waiting for emergency personnel. Responding officers arrived at Lauren's residence shortly after. Upon entry, they found her lying unresponsive on the floor beside the bed. LaFontaine was still present at the scene. Paramedics declared her dead at 6:49 a.m. Despite the presence of a deceased individual under unclear circumstances, police failed to treat the apartment as a potential crime scene. The scene was not cordoned off. No detectives or crime scene investigators, CSI, were dispatched to examine or preserve evidence in the room. There was no forensic unit assigned to perform immediate on-site analysis. Instead, responding officers performed only a basic sweep of the apartment, removing limited personal effects, including a cell phone, credit card, passport, and wallet. Officers did not document or collect several other potential items of evidentiary value, such as drinking glasses, bedding, used condoms, and other materials located around the room. Key pieces of physical evidence, such as blood-stained sheets, a used condom containing semen, and a loose pill near the body, were not secured. These items were left in the apartment and not processed as evidence during the initial response. Lauren's family was not contacted by police regarding her death. No officer, investigator, or department representative informed the family on the day of the incident. Concerned after not hearing from Lauren, her mother, Chantel Fields, attempted to call her throughout the day on December 12th and into the next day. Receiving no response, the family visited Lauren's apartment on December 13th, 2021. Upon arrival, they found a note taped to the door. The note had been written by the landlord and included a detective's phone number for them to call. This was the first indication the family received that something had occurred. The failure to directly inform the next of kin was a clear deviation from standard protocol in death investigations. It also delayed their ability to make critical decisions and gather information in the early stages. After discovering the note and contacting police, the family was permitted access to Lauren's apartment. Upon entry, they found that the scene remained largely untouched from the night of her death. The bed still contained blood-stained sheets. A used condom was found in the bathroom trash. A white pill was located near her body. All these items remained in place days after the police response and had not been collected, tagged, or analyzed by any forensics team. Recognizing the oversight, the family took photographs of the scene and the items present. They collected what they believed to be evidence and later turned it over to the authorities. This series of actions raised critical questions about crime scene contamination, loss of forensic integrity, and potential destruction of key biological evidence. The failure to secure and preserve the scene may have permanently compromised the investigation into Lauren's cause and manner of death. On January 24th, 2022, the Connecticut Office of the Chief Medical Examiner released the official autopsy report. The report ruled Lauren's death as an accidental overdose. According to toxicology findings, Lauren had multiple substances in her system at the time of death. Fentanyl, a synthetic opioid 50 to 100 times more potent than morphine. Promethazine, a sedative antihistamine, sometimes mixed with narcotics. Hydroxyzine, an anti-anxiety medication. Alcohol, blood alcohol, levels not publicly disclosed. This combination, especially when involving fentanyl, is known to have potentially lethal interactions, particularly affecting respiratory function. The family immediately disputed the findings, citing Lauren's background in health practices. Her mother stated that Lauren was fearful of drugs due to generational addiction within their family, and that she did not use opioids or sedatives. Unconvinced by the official cause of death, the family retained an independent pathologist to conduct a private autopsy. Their legal representatives requested clarification of the toxicology breakdown and demanded further investigation into how the drugs entered Lauren's system. Despite these findings, Bridgeport police did not initiate a formal inquiry into the origin of the fentanyl. There is no public documentation indicating that investigators sought to determine whether Lauren had been unknowingly drugged or poisoned. Given that Lauren's date, Matthew LaFontaine, was the last known person to see her alive, and that he spent the night in the same bed, the presence of fentanyl and sedatives introduced a strong basis for suspicion of foul play. Fentanyl is rarely used recreationally in small doses due to its potency and high risk of overdose. It is commonly associated with unintentional poisoning or deliberate drugging. Despite this, police did not classify the incident as suspicious, and LaFontaine was never detained, interrogated as a suspect, or charged. There was no indication that any DNA testing was conducted on a used condom or other materials in the apartment, nor that the drinks consumed by the two were tested for adulteration. Lauren's death initially received limited media coverage, especially when compared to similar high-profile cases involving white victims. This discrepancy drew criticism across social media platforms and was cited as an example of missing white woman syndrome. Activists, influencers, and advocacy groups began using hashtags such as #JusticeForLauren, #BlackWomenDeserveJustice. Platforms like TikTok and Instagram saw widespread engagement, with users demanding justice and transparency. The case gained even more national visibility when Cardi B posted about it, accusing police of negligence and racial bias. As public pressure increased, the Bridgeport Police Department reopened the case in late January 2022, more than 6 weeks after Lauren's death. They also accepted assistance from the Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, signaling a possible turn toward investigating the narcotics involved. On January 30th, 2022, the Bridgeport Mayor's Office announced disciplinary actions against 2 police officers involved in the early handling of Lauren's case. Detectives Kevin Cronin and Angel Llanos were placed on administrative leave for violations of departmental policy, specifically failure to follow proper death notification procedures, failure to preserve and document a potential crime scene. Additionally, the city's Internal Affairs Unit launched a review of Bridgeport PD's procedures regarding unattended deaths, evidence collection, and racial equity in investigative practices. The mayor publicly apologized to the Smithfields family for the way the case was handled, but no criminal charges were filed against any officers or individuals in connection to mishandling or to Lauren's death itself. Following the death of 23-year-old Lauren Smithfields in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and what her family describes as gross mishandling of the investigation by local authorities, legal action was initiated. In early 2022, the Smithfields family filed a formal notice of claim, a precursor to a lawsuit against the city of Bridgeport. The notice outlined several serious allegations. Racial bias in how the Bridgeport Police Department, BPD, treated the case. The family claimed that if Lauren had been a white woman and the man who had last seen her alive had been black, the response would have been different. The family cited disparities in how potential suspects are treated and how quickly action is taken, especially in interracial situations involving deceased black women. Failure to secure and process evidence. Items such as bloodstained sheets, a used condom with semen, a pill near the body, and a drinking glass were allegedly left uncollected during the initial response. The family claims they later discovered and photographed many of these items themselves, raising questions about forensic protocol and potential evidence contamination. Denial of due process. The family argued that they were denied access to timely information about the investigation and were effectively excluded from participating in Lauren's death review. They learned of her passing not through official notification, but through a handwritten note left at her apartment by a landlord, a violation of expected legal protocol, violation of civil rights under the 14th Amendment. The claim specifically cited that the city and its police department denied Lauren equal protection under the law and failed to provide her family with procedural justice guaranteed by the Constitution. In addition to filing the notice of claim, the family began advocating for state-level legislative reforms in Connecticut. They demanded structural changes to prevent similar failures in the future. Among their proposed policies were mandatory notification of next of kin within 24 hours in all death investigations. The family argued that no one should ever find out about a relative's death through unofficial means. Internal review for all deaths involving interracial parties when no immediate arrest is made. The family maintained that in racially charged cases, oversight should be automatic to ensure transparency and prevent bias. The legal claims filed by the Smithfields family remain one of the most significant developments in the aftermath of Lauren's death, spotlighting broader issues about how marginalized victims, particularly black women, are treated within the criminal justice system. Central to the case is the man who last saw Lauren Smithfields alive, Matthew LaFontaine, a 37-year-old white male who met her on the dating app Bumble. LaFontaine was never publicly named a suspect. From the outset, Bridgeport police described him as cooperative and stated that he seemed like a nice guy. Despite being the last known person to see Lauren alive, LaFontaine was not arrested, detained, or subjected to intensive questioning, at least not in any manner documented for public record. According to his account, the two had spent the evening drinking tequila, watching movies, and socializing. He claimed she had become ill at one point, but later seemed better. He told police he carried her to bed and woke up hours later to find her unresponsive with blood around her nose. He then called 911. Critically, there is no known record of a full interrogation, a polygraph test, or collection of LaFontaine's DNA. The absence of basic investigative measures led to widespread criticism of the case's management. The Smithfields family and many in the public questioned why he was not treated with the same level of scrutiny often applied to people of color in similar circumstances. Observers also pointed out the racial dynamics at play. Had the racial roles been reversed, a black man found in bed with a deceased white woman, it's likely, critics argue, that the response would have been immediate, aggressive, and suspect-focused. The police's early decision to accept LaFontaine's account without challenge or deeper investigation remains one of the most heavily scrutinized elements of this case. As of mid-2025, the case of Lauren Smithfields remains open but inactive. No arrests have been made. No new suspects have been named. Law enforcement has offered no substantial public update since early 2023. The Bridgeport Police Department continues to face both legal pressure and public scrutiny for the way the case was handled. Multiple unresolved questions remain. Why was key physical evidence ignored or left uncollected at the scene? Items such as the bloodied bedsheets, the pill, and the used condom could have yielded critical forensic clues. Why wasn't the apartment treated as a potential crime scene from beginning? The lack of initial crime scene processing limited the potential for useful forensic results. Was Lauren unknowingly drugged or poisoned? The toxicology report revealed the presence of fentanyl, a highly lethal substance, even though Lauren had no history of drug use. It remains unclear how that drug entered her system. Why was LaFontaine not treated as a person of interest, given his proximity to the death, the delay in emergency response, and the inconsistencies in his timeline? Many feel a deeper probe was warranted. How can the justice system ensure equal urgency and transparency for marginalized victims? The family argues that Lauren's case reveals systemic flaws that extend far beyond a single investigation. These unanswered questions continue to drive public interest in the case and have become focal points in broader conversations about justice reform, racial equity, and gender-based violence. Though Lauren Smith Fields' death remains unresolved, her story has created a lasting impact. It has become a national example of how institutional failures, procedural missteps, and social disparities can converge in a single case. Her name has been invoked in debates about racial equity in policing, the treatment of Black women in media and law enforcement, and dating app safety. Advocacy groups have cited her case while calling for reforms in how police handle unexplained deaths, particularly when involving young women and interracial dynamics. The Smith-Fields family remains vocal and persistent in their pursuit of truth, legal accountability, and policy change. Their efforts have already led to administrative action within the Bridgeport Police Department, the suspension of detectives, and the advancement of state-level policy discussions. Whether Lauren's death was a result of accidental overdose or something more sinister, one fact is clear. The initial response by authorities created a chain of negligence that has obstructed clarity and delayed justice. Lauren's case is more than a tragedy. It is a reflection of a system under scrutiny, one where race, gender, and indifference intersect. The full truth behind her death may never be known, but the demand for answers, accountability, and systemic reform continues. If you found this story as gripping and heartbreaking as we did, don't forget to like this video and share it with others. And if you want to hear more true crime stories that uncover the mysteries behind these tragic events, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. You won't want to miss our latest stories, updates, and discussions. Thank you for joining us on this journey to seek justice and explore the truth. Together, we can make a difference. Until next time, stay safe and stay aware.